Well, hello and welcome, everybody. This is your host, KenDFoster. The Voices of Courage show has touched the lives of millions of individuals. And today, this show is dedicated to you, the one that wants to heal your body, heal your mind, become more vibrant, more joyful, more happy in your life. If that's you, this is the show for you. I'm calling this show The Courage to Embrace Eastern Medicine. Eastern. You know, in the West, we're all about allopathic medicine, right? Western medicine. And Western medicine is wonderful. There's so many parts of Western medicine that's great. But if you are not embracing Eastern medicine, it's like going through life with like one arm. Okay, imagine that. You're going through life with one arm or one leg, right? Because you're not fully embracing everything that is there for you to be able to heal your life. I've learned this over the years. All healing is a quest. So if somebody tells me, oh, you're going to have this illness forever, I say, thank you very much. And now I'm going to go on the quest to find out where I can heal this part of me that needs to be healed, whether it's mental, emotion, physical, or spiritual. It's a quest to heal. And quests come with challenges, right? Sometimes the challenge is in your own mind. And we have to let go of the way that we've been programmed that you can only heal this certain way or that certain way. Well, when we start to embrace Eastern medicine, what happens is a whole new world opens up to you. And today, I'm going to help you open that new world with a very powerful guest who's been on my show a few times. She's comes back because her wisdom is profound, and she's going to be able to help you maybe get the answers to what you're looking for and maybe how to shift what you're doing to be able to embrace Eastern medicine and actually heal your life. How amazing would that be? Okay, got to take a quick break, and I'll be back with my guest.
Are you over 50? Would you like to get up to 33% more income in retirement? Then call now for this free book, Annuity Do's and Don'ts for Baby Boomers. This free book reveals little-known secrets about annuity strategies that will help you make the right choices before buying an annuity. Call right now for your free book, and as a bonus, we'll also throw in a free annuity rate report, both absolutely free for calling Annuity General today.
Call 800-510-0470.
Hi, folks. Medicare Part C plans with extra benefits like getting money added back to your Social Security check may now be available to you in your zip code. Make sure you're not missing out. It's simple. 1, call the number on your screen. 2, they'll look up your zip code and see if you're eligible. 3, they'll check for plans with extra benefits like prescriptions, dental coverage, and the benefit that adds money back to your Social Security check every single month. Call now.
I called to get everything I deserve.
I called to check my zip code for a plan with a benefit that adds money back to my Social Security check.
I called to check my zip code.
Millions of people have called the Medicare Coverage Helpline. Call, check your zip code, see if you're eligible, and get what you deserve. Call now.
Call 1-800-374-2308. That's 1-800-374-2308 now.
If you or someone you love has developed Parkinson's disease after being exposed to gramoxone or any herbicide containing the deadly chemical paraquat, you may be entitled to financial compensation. If you developed Parkinson's and worked or lived on a farm that used paraquat herbicide treatments with gramoxone, Firestorm, or any listed brand, call now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. There are time deadlines, so don't delay. If you don't win, you pay nothing.
800-771-3380.
Oh, welcome back, everybody. This is KenDFoster, and I have my guest, Dr. Jenelle Kim, on the show today. Dr. Jenelle, welcome back to the show again.
Thank you so much, Ken. I'm so grateful to be here, and hello, everyone.
Well, if you don't know my guest, Dr. Jenelle Kim, she's a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine and is a nationally board certified in herbology, Oriental medicine, and acupuncture. Dr. Kim completed extensive training in East Asia under some of the most respected doctors in the field of Oriental medicine. I love this topic. I love this subject because we, as I mentioned in the intro, so many people are been told things like you'll never heal, you'll have these chronic things forever. And if you want to believe that, I guess you can believe that, or you may want to change up. Let's talk about just, acupuncture. Like, how does acupuncture work? Let's just talk about that. Okay, let's talk about energy medicine for a bit and see. Yeah, let's talk about that.
First of all, no one saw me in the very beginning when you were doing the intro, but I was shaking my head the whole time because I couldn't agree more. And I love the way that you say it. Before I even begin, I want to acknowledge that I think a lot of people would maybe expect from me to come on the show and say, allopathic, modern medicine, conventional medicine, I don't agree. You have to go this lane. And I like that you acknowledge something that I do as well, which is we have to understand both. As a doctor, as a practitioner, we have to understand that there's more. It's holistic, right? And holistic can include it all. And that's the beautiful part. And so the interesting thing is when it comes to certain things, I actually think conventional modern medicine is a wonderful choice because we always have a choice, right? Sometimes when it comes to needing antibiotics, when we truly need to have an operation done, and that is the best way to go about it. And then what happens is we can start to embrace all of our treatment modalities and ways of living. And for example, in a situation like that, say we take antibiotics, for example, or we go for an operation, we can use them together. Right, in the process together, meaning then we can go to Eastern medicine, for example, Ayurvedic, more of your holistic medicines to, strengthen your body, that much more your digestive system after taking antibiotics or even concurrently, right? Or after you have an operation, we can use herbal medicine, acupuncture to really help heal our bodies, regardless of whatever surgery that is. So that's kind of more extreme examples. Well, not so much the antibiotics, but the operation of how they can work together. And that's once you're not feeling well. But
I just plus that. Another way that we can work with the East and the West is prior to surgery, prior to an operation, Absolutely. Where you can up level your life by certain herbs and certain even IV drips that are offered through Eastern medicine technology.
Right.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of ways we can work together.
Absolutely. And now, having said that, let's go down to the very definition of allopathic medicine. We can go into a million details, but one way of looking at it is it treats the symptoms, right? And Eastern medicine, holistic medicines really focus on treating the root cause. And that is one way, I actually think that my entire role in this life is doing my very best to make things make sense. The truth is that's really important to me. And so I like to look at these very important concepts or ways of living in this manner, right? And help them to make sense.
I love that. But why would people even focus on treating symptoms? I mean, don't we want to get to the root cause so we don't have these recurring chronic diseases going on and on and on?
Absolutely.
To me, it's common sense.
Yeah. That's exactly right, Ken. A time to treat symptoms, I kind of already said it, is it's gone a little too far. That's the truth. So I'm gonna touch on what you just said. I of course agree with what you just said. So treating a symptom is like you need an antibiotic. You now have a bacterial infection in your lungs, and the quickest way to possibly to rebalance the situation may be to take antibiotics. But you're exactly correct. How Eastern medicine and holistic medicines can really become a huge part of our way of life, meaning our everyday life. And that's the key here that I hear you saying, and I could not agree more, is that if we are, number one, more aware of our bodies, which holistic medicines, Eastern medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, they really focus on just being aware. How often are we not feeling good, or we develop an imbalance, which leads to a condition which can lead into sickness, illness, and we don't even realize what's happening to us. that is, I think, the number one place to start, and something that Eastern holistic medicines truly focus on, being aware of how we should feel. And when something's off, paying attention to that.
Well, I had a ski accident in 2017. I tore up my ACL, MCL, medium meniscus, and I had a bone fracture. Right, I went to the hospital and got an X-ray. Then I did an MRI, and my doctor said, "Well, you got about a 30% chance of not having surgery." Well, I had surgery on my other leg, and I realized it took forever for it to heal. So I went to a lady that did some Eastern medicine, and and I asked her about it. She said, "No, I think we can increase the blood flow." I went to my acupuncturist and she worked on me. And I went to a Reiki therapist and she worked on me. Bottom line is I ended up with no surgery and back on my bike in about 2 weeks, as opposed to my other leg that I had the surgery that took me 6 months for the swelling to go down. And then I was in pain for many years afterwards until I finally did some energy work and healed that leg.
Right.
So, I love treating symptoms. That's okay. But I think we have to know when to treat symptoms and when to use Oriental medicines and energy medicines to really be able to heal us.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Ken. And so many people are not aware. And that is also part of my role. I'm grateful for you because you're spreading that understanding, as I hope I am, to the very best of my ability, of letting people know that there are options. Surgery and operation is not always the best thing to go to. And there's so many other things that we can do, such as acupuncture, such as the use of herbal formulations in medicine, poultices, gels, creams, that truly, it blows people's minds. I watch it all the time, how applying certain formulas can actually start to reverse where they are standing as far as function, as far as discomfort, and what an amazing thing. And going back to your first question, how does acupuncture, in that case, how do herbs even work in the body? How do we look at that in Eastern medicine? And
I want to take a deep dive into that after we come back from a break. So we'll be right back, and let's talk about that.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Diabetics understand all too well the pain of pricking your fingers. But now, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you can immediately reduce your pain. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 4 or more times daily, injecting insulin 3 or more times daily, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now. If you or someone you love has developed Parkinson's disease after being exposed to gramoxone or any herbicide containing the deadly chemical paraquat, you may be entitled to financial compensation. If you developed Parkinson's and worked or lived on a farm that used paraquat herbicide treatments with gramoxone, Firestorm, or any listed brand, call now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. There are time deadlines, so don't delay. If you don't win, you pay nothing.
800-771-3380.
CBD, you've heard about it. It's helping people relieve chronic pain, improve sleep, and reduce stress. But how do you find science-based products that feel right for you? Feel Good Hemp was started after the founders used CBD oil to help their dad heal from a 3-month-to-live diagnosis. They deliver all-natural, lab-tested, high-quality products at affordable prices. So visit feelgoodhemp.org/courage and be sure to use coupon code COURAGE25 to get 25% off your first order. Oh, welcome back, everybody. This is your host, KenDFoster. Today I'm calling the show The Courage to Embrace Eastern Medicine. We've already embraced Western medicine, so I'm trying to give us a little fair shot to go the other way, too, so we can have the balance that we really need and harmony in our lives to be able to really get rid of some of the chronic diseases that are out there and be able to really embrace vitality. So, Dr. Kim, let's take that deep dive into acupuncture and some of the Eastern medicine modalities, and how do they actually work?
Absolutely. So as I was about to say, and I love that you gave us a moment so we could really dive into it. This could be a very long seminar, but to break it down, and as I said before, one of my favorite things is to just have it make sense, because one of the things I love about Eastern medicine, of course, I've grown up with it since the day I came into this earth, but I didn't really fully understand it or pay attention in that way until I was in my, early adult life and decided to study. And one of the things I remember when I first sat down to study Eastern medicine in this way is they described the human body. And this is key to understanding how Eastern medicine works: acupuncture, herbal medicine, nutrition, movement, you name it. All of the centuries proven methods that have been handed down to us by our ancient practitioners and sages and teachers. And when I first sat down, I'll never forget my teacher, who was a very well-known man in the Eastern medical space, and I was very close to. His name was Alex Taveri. And he started explaining that the body, we have to understand it as a system of different meridians, right? And so that's what Eastern medicine breaks. I'm sure we've heard now channels, meridians, your acupressure points lie on these meridians. And basically through these meridians, you have points on your body that connect to everything within your body. So just as we can imagine, most of us can picture our circulatory system, right? That's how our blood flows through our body, oxygenated, deoxygenated, and it functions and processes, and that's the key. Well, you can think of the meridians working in that similar way. So you have chi and you have blood that runs throughout your whole body and makes everything function. Again, like I said, your organ systems, your bones, your muscles, your joints, me speaking to you right now, how my brain is functioning. And the most important thing is to keep that flow, right? So I speak all over the world, and whether it's beauty or wellness, when people ask me, Dr. Kim, what's the secret to ultimate beauty and health, right? What's the fountain of youth? And my answer is actually really simple. You have to have function and you have to have flow. Right? And so now that seems so simple, and it is so profound, and it's really important for us to think and literally visualize this, because as we're moving throughout our day, we can pay attention. The second we start to feel fatigued, if our stomach starts to bother us, our digestion, right? We have indigestion. If all of a sudden we start to get a pain in our elbow or our ankle, right? All of these things are signs telling us something is not functioning properly. And so going back, picture you have meridian systems running all throughout your body, channels, okay? And they're moving chi, and your circulatory system is moving blood, and we want to keep that flow. So what acupuncture does is it works on specific points throughout the body that connect to different organ systems, that connect to your circulation in and of itself, that connect to certain muscles and joints and different channels that run along different parts of your body. And so the key is when we start to have an imbalance in our body, whether it is from not eating properly, not sleeping properly, stress, or trauma, what happens is our meridian systems, there becomes a blockage. So if you picture our meridian systems, our channels, basically like rivers, right? You have to have that flow, as I said. And over time, sticks, debris start to build up in this river system. And if you don't move that through by eating properly, moving properly, sleeping properly, drinking water, right? Making sure that we don't have injuries that we're not paying attention to, what happens to is that all of those sticks, debris, all of this starts to create blockages in our rivers. Right? And if you picture it this way, it starts to make more sense. So at first we feel small symptoms. It starts to build. And before you know it, you have a big blockage in the flow of your chi. Okay. And chi means vital energy. One way to understand this is that blood nourishes all of our organ systems, muscles, joints. It's the substance. And chi is what makes everything move. It's how I can even sit here and talk to you right now. Otherwise, I'd just be a blob. And so when you picture that's how your body's working, what acupuncture and herbal medicine, what they do is that they go in and they make everything function. So even when I make skincare products for some of the biggest brands out there, this is exactly how I speak to them about it. And even when you put on skincare products, topical products, if you have proper formulas, certain herbs that can actually travel through and push that chi and make it flow and nourish the body and nourish the skin cells even, Okay. Or if we're taking a tincture, it starts to make your organ system function properly, starts to make sure that everything flows and gets nourished the way it should, eliminates as it should. So you see how this kind of connects to everything. And that's the key. And so by using holistic medicines, even on a regular basis, when there's an issue, we can correct it. But on a regular basis, it is really important to do certain movements that really help to build our body internally, not just externally, to take different supplements that continue to increase and improve our digestion and our circulatory system, nootropics to help our brain function. So this is the way that we can kind of find what fits for our own bodies, because that's the truth. We're all different. And that's what I devote my whole life to, making sure that there's formulas and people understand them enough to take them and make them a part of their life. That is living meditation, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment.
I want to jump into that right now, because I think we're right on it. We're talking about flow. Yes. We're talking about the body, harmonizing the body systems. And it's from my point of view, as you know, I've been a meditator for decades, and yes. I believe it all starts with being able to calm the mind and calm the systems, so that we can start to make wise decisions. Yes. Not out of the monkey mind, but out of the wisdom mind. And you have a new book out. It's we're going to be talking about that right now. I'm going to let you say the name.
It's called Myung-Sung, The Korean Art of Living Meditation. So what I tell people is just look for living meditation.
Well, I'll put the book up here on the screen so my viewing audience can see it. But yes. So in my audio audience, as we start to talk about this, you're going to want to get this book. And like Dr. Jenelle Kim just said, look for The Korean Art of Living Meditation. You'll be able to find that if you can't pronounce the name. Why did you write the book?
Yes. Well, why did I write the book? That is a very good question, and probably a very large question, but I will sum it up. The way I explain this, and have come to explain it because I feel like it makes sense to people, is that when I get asked these questions over however many years, like I just mentioned, what is the secret to health? What is the secret to beauty? What is the secret of living in a way that we can stay calm, see clearly, be productive? It's not just about sitting there and, letting life just, pass us by. We don't all, that's not the key either, right? And it really breaks down into what I now call the 3 M's. I call them the 3 pillars for a while, but the 3 M's, right? And it's meditation, medicine, and movement. And so medicine, we just had that talk, Ken, why it's so important to be aware of our bodies, to implement different ways, herbal supplements, different topical type of formulations, eating properly, because it helps us so much. Movement is so incredibly important. And these 3 keys, these 3 pillars, again, are what the ancient teachers and practitioners have passed down to us. These people who have dedicated their entire lives to understanding the human condition. These are the secrets to health, wellness, to longevity. And the third one, very important, what everything is built upon, I call meditation, as you just said. But my purpose and my wish is to bring it one step deeper. Let's go back a moment. We all, thankfully, not we all, I can't say everyone, but for the most part, meditation is a huge topic right now. Now, I remember, and I'm sure you do too, Ken, that even 20 years ago, 40 years ago, meditation, people didn't understand it. 40 years ago, they thought it was like a strange thing, right? And here we are today, and everyone's searching for this because it's known that this is one of the most powerful ways to calm stress, to clear our minds so that we function better and achieve what we wish. So the difference is living meditation. That is what has been passed down for centuries in my lineage, but of course, other lineages exist as well. But as I said, in my lineage, for example, it's practitioners, teachers, doctors, practitioners of the Tao, right? The universe, the way of life, what they have devoted their whole lives to understanding and passed down to all of us so that we can live in a way where we can be present, right? What is meditation? Why do we do it? To be present, to be aware, to see more clearly. That is, I think, one of the most important ways of looking at it, to gain perspective and to remember, as I just heard you basically say as well, Ken, that at the end of the day, we always have a choice. It's the most empowering thing in this life, but it can also be the most daunting because everything comes down to you. You have the choice whether to react or respond, as you just said, monkey mind emotion or from a centered place.
Well, I love the title of the book and I love the subtitle, Living Meditation. To me,
Yes.
that makes a lot more sense. A lot of people quote meditate, but they're not really living, becoming a living meditation. I want to know exactly what you mean by that.
Mhm.
And I got to take a quick break. When we come back,
Yes.
let's dive into what a living meditation can be for somebody.
If you or someone you love has developed Parkinson's disease after being exposed to gramoxone or any herbicide containing the deadly chemical paraquat, you may be entitled to financial compensation. If you developed Parkinson's and worked or lived on a farm that used paraquat herbicide treatments with gramoxone, Firestorm, or any listed brand, call now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. There are time deadlines, so don't delay. If you don't win, you pay nothing.
800-771-3380.
Are you feeling stuck or in a holding pattern with your business or life and you're not doing the things you want or love? Then at some point, you're going to be faced with a decision. You'll either choose to keep living in your comfort zone and risk a life of mediocrity, or increase your courage, step into your power, and forge into the unknown, where everything new becomes possible. If you're truly ready to live masterfully, then you need KenDFoster's newest book, The Courage to Change Everything, Strategies and Wisdom to Transform Your Life One Day at a Time. This powerful but simple guide provides you with 365 days of life-transforming wisdom, profound questions, and action steps that will increase your strength and open the doors to success. Stop wondering why your business or life isn't working. The answers are available now. Imagine if you had more courage or another chance to start following your dreams. To pick up your copy of The Courage to Change Everything, visit thecouragetochangeeverything.com. That's thecouragetochangeeverything.com.
Oh, welcome back, everybody. If you just joined the show, I want to let you know that I'm interviewing Dr. Kim. She's a doctor of acupuncture and Chinese medicine and is a nationally board certified in herbology, Oriental medicine, and acupuncture, and so much more. She's been on the show several times, and I keep bringing her back because she's a fountain of wisdom and around medicine and what we can do to heal our bodies and heal our minds. All right, so living meditation, what's that?
Yes, I hear you. So living meditation is, of course, a phrase or two words that I had to come up with, right? I had to come up with a way to embody very quickly what it was that has been passed down for centuries in my lineage, right? And connecting to the Tao, that way of understanding. For those who know, I know that that means a lot when I say that. For those who don't know, the Tao is the universe, right? And so it's the way of plugging in. So living meditation is a state of mind. It is a way of life. And the way of getting there is through what I call the 8 keys. Okay, these are basically the principles broken down into 8 keys. In the book, I make them the 8 chapters, and instead of calling them chapters, they're the keys. And they're ways to help us remember that we hold the choice in everything that we do. Everything starts from us. All of the answers in this universe that we wish to find are within us and within the world universe around us. And that's a really interesting place to start, because a lot of times in this life, it is very common to see as human beings. And the beautiful thing is this has never changed. From the beginning of time that humans existed till however long we're still in existence, it doesn't change. No matter what our gender, our ethnicity, our age, the time we were born, modern, past, it doesn't matter. And that's what living meditation is about, the principles of the universe and how we live and we connect to ourselves, mind, body, spirit, how we connect to others, and how we connect to the world around us in such a way that we go with the flow. Right? But always stay rooted in who we are and what we know are the principles, are the universal truths. So what I was about to say is it's how can I say? So often we see that human beings, it's a It's a way that we jump quickly when we're in any kind of situation, which means that we like to kind of go outwards for our answers, right? Whether we mean it or not, we blame others. We look for excuses, no matter what that might be. And that is what it is. But at the end of the day, if we all can remember, and you don't have to share this with anyone, if we all can remember that within ourselves, it is so important every single moment of our lives to check in for a second, to take a breath, to ground ourselves, and to remember, I have the choice of whether to react or respond to this given situation. And I have a choice of whether I want to broaden my perspective and see a situation a little bit more clearly, a little bit more broad, to see more of what is going on so I can come up with the correct decision. That is what living meditation is all about. And that is what the 8 keys teach us. Key number 1 starts with knowing your true self. I'm not going to go through all of them, but key number 3.
Well, I think that's a really good place to start, because here's what I believe. We have an identity crisis in America. We believe that we are our accomplishments. We're our house. We're our cars. We're our friends. We think we relate with that somehow. This is who we are, as what we've accomplished. And I think that that's such a big fallacy, that it hurts everybody, because when we don't realize who we really are and how we're all connected, you make poor choices and you remain in delusion. So let's just talk a little bit about that. Who am I, Jenelle, and how do we get to that place in the book?
Absolutely. And so that is why the whole book starts with key number 1, just like you said, Ken, know your true self. Know that everything starts from you. Like I was taught by my mentor, my father, who is exemplified in the book. That's how I received so much of this understanding and this way of life. He spent his early years, his childhood in the mountains of East Asia, studying with his teacher or his master. And so what I do in the book is I go through his experiences living in a mountain, and then hopefully I transition, in a way that is very visual almost for people, into current life, even things that I experience on a daily basis, and not in the mountains of East Asia, but here, because no matter where you are, it doesn't change. So key number 1 is know your true self. Know that everything starts with you. When you point a finger, 3 are pointing back at you. And when you do this, you start to have control over your own life, because that's all you can control in this life, right? If we want to think so. I always say 80% is written in the stars, about 20%. 20% we have control over. That's another huge piece of this, is knowing that there's something greater than us that we connect to. So key number 1, know your true self. Yeah.
And I want to plus that a little bit. I believe that you're 100% right when we come in, that there's, that basically we've got a lot, we're just playing out what's destined, in us. But as we awaken, as we become more rich in the inner game of life, as we learn how to tap into the superconscious mind states, we actually expand choice. And that 80-20 starts to flip-flop. Right. And we start to have much more awareness to create our destiny, as we did in the beginning. So I just want to throw that out there for my audience.
Yes, no, I absolutely love that. And that's absolutely correct. The whole idea with everything, as I said, is to plug in, go with what the opportunities we have in this life, see them clearly. And that's key number 2. It's called the true, right, correct method. I made it look like an equation because, as much as I understand that the Tao, right, literally that yin yang symbol means that things are always shifting and changing. And there's always the obvious and then the not, right? There's night and day, loud and soft, feminine, masculine energies. And that's always shifting and changing. Right. And so one of the things that's so important when we go about this life, and I put it in equation form because that's kind of the black and white way of looking at it, but it's also important, is that you look at every situation. You first start with yourself. What is the truth about a situation? It's the true, right, correct method. What is the truth? How do I feel about a situation? Because it is very important. Next is what's the right thing to do in the situation. All of this is, like I said, rooted in principles and universal truth. So it's not always so easy to communicate in words. But what I mean about right is you look outside of yourselves. You put yourselves in someone else's shoes for just a moment, and you see where they're standing. You also consider almost like the black and white of a situation, things that in general we as people would agree upon. It's not good to steal. It's not good to hurt someone. It's not good to lie. And so you look at the situation for where you stand, you open your perspective, you zoom out, as I like to say it, and you put yourself in other people's shoes. And then you arrive at the correct decision. And so you'll hear me say that a lot. You think, I want to act correctly. I want to think correctly. I want to speak correctly. That word, because words can mean so much, especially if we put intention into them. So that's the true, right, correct method. And it's something that I really wish for people to see almost as an equation in their mind. Now, of course, figuring out that correct decision is not linear, and it changes with every single situation. But that's also so key. If we were looking for this answer in life of how to go through every single situation for myself as a parent, as a business owner, as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend, as a member of my community, as an educator, as a doctor. I mean, that I say it like that because that's how it can feel sometimes. And if we think there's one answer, when I wake up in the morning, this is what I do, and people are going to give us that answer.
Well, you're right on. And I think what happens is that we get stuck in the logical mind, and we haven't, what meditation helps everyone do is develop their intuition.
Yes.
And so, it's becoming so much more important to meditate in this world today, because if you're not developing your intuition with the overwhelming amount of information and disinformation and misinformation that's out there, if you're not tuning in, you're really struggling in this world.
Right. And what happens is life is going to take you, the winds of life are just going to take you, and you're going to go
take you down the path, right? Unless you're tuning in. So listen, I got to take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up the rest of the principles in the book.
Sounds good.
Are you being audited, and do you owe the IRS $10,000 or more in back taxes? Is the IRS threatening to take more of your money? Don't fight the IRS alone. The Tax Doctor is here to help you negotiate your tax bill and reduce your stress. If you owe $10,000 or more in back taxes, do not call the IRS alone. Call a Tax Doctor now for a tax emergency analysis.
If you or someone you love has developed Parkinson's disease after being exposed to gramoxone or any herbicide containing the deadly chemical paraquat, you may be entitled to financial compensation. If you developed Parkinson's and worked or lived on a farm that used paraquat herbicide treatments with gramoxone, Firestorm, or any listed brand, call now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. There are time deadlines, so don't delay. If you don't win, you pay nothing.
800-771-3380.
Are you feeling stuck or in a holding pattern with your business or life, and you're not doing the things you want or love? Then at some point, you're going to be faced with a decision. You'll either choose to keep living in your comfort zone and risk a life of mediocrity, or increase your courage, step into your power, and forge into the unknown, where everything new becomes possible. If you're truly ready to live masterfully, then you need KenDFoster's newest book, The Courage to Change Everything, Strategies and Wisdom to Transform Your Life One Day at a Time. This powerful but simple guide provides you with 365 days of life-transforming wisdom, profound questions, and action steps that will increase your strength and open the doors to success. Stop wondering why your business or life isn't working. The answers are available now. Imagine if you had more courage or another chance to start following your dreams. To pick up your copy of The Courage to Change Everything, visit thecouragetochangeeverything.com. That's thecouragetochangeeverything.com.
This is such a fun show. I am so glad that you're here, Dr. Jenelle Kim, with me. We always have fun doing these amazingly informative shows, and I'm so happy you've got the new book out now. And all right, so I think we're in principle 4 right now. That's the key number 4 in the book. Yeah, let's go there.
So I was just touching actually, Ken, on key number 3, and I'm going to mention that one because I think everyone's going to love it, including you. And it kind of sums up what we just said, right? And so key number 3 is stop being drunk on your own thoughts. So I didn't want to skip this one. This one is so important because it takes that putting yourself in other people's shoes, zooming out, realizing that you can't just put the blame or put the excuse or put the reason outside of yourself. And stop being drunk on your own thoughts means, remember that just like we can be drunk on alcohol, we can start to become so fixated on our own thoughts, the way we like to see life, without putting ourselves in other people's shoes, that we can literally become intoxicated. And that's a really dangerous way of living. And so even being aware of that is so important. When you feel super stuck or you're in an argument with somebody, It is your choice always, but maybe, just maybe, practice living meditation, this way of life, and take a moment and breathe and put yourself into someone else's shoes to see possibly what their perspective is and where they're coming from. And life, we can only imagine how much life would change if we did so, right? So that's key number 3. Key number 4 is, what is your legacy? What are you leaving behind on this earth? Are you planting good seeds or seeds that really are of no use for all generations to come? And it doesn't have to be something so grand. It can be as simple as being kind, smiling at someone when you walk by them, when someone shows you road rage, making a choice not to continue that negative energy. So many opportunities every single moment of our life to change ourselves. And remember, living meditation is a state, a way of life, a way of being. It's a mental state, right? So don't do meditation, become meditation. And we have to be aware of how we go about these things, right?
Well, one of the challenges is, when we're living these principles, and is that there's a lot of really amazing principles to live our life from, but to master them is the key, right? So to master your smile, we're connecting with one another.
Right.
That's what I love about what you're writing here with this book, is because you have the principles that we can go, oh, am I a little deficient in this area?
Yes.
Maybe I should focus a little more concentration so that it brings more joy in my life and brings more happiness to others. Right?
Yes, that's exactly right, Ken. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if we're going to be able to get through all of them.
Yeah, no.
Let me just ask you this, because you got to read the book to get them all. Come on now. So, out of the remaining 5, what 2 or 3 are the most important principles that we need to hear about today, and what are the benefits to the audience to be able to get these principles? Right.
Absolutely.
Let's go.
You're reading my mind. So key number 7, I think, is really, really important for all of us right now in this life and what we all just walk through. And that is, it takes one match to light 1,000. In fact, when I write my book, that is such an important phrase to me that's actually what I sign the book with. And I think about this every moment. And this means that growing on all the keys that I just said, because remember, this is like a system, a discipline of the mind that I'm speaking of in these 8 keys. Key number 7, one positive thought, one positive word, one positive action, one positive person can ignite 1,000 more. Right? And on the flip side, just like that yin and yang, remember, there's that dichotomy that just exists in our universe, right? There's also the negative side. One negative thought, negative word, negative action, negative person can ignite 1,000 more. And when we start to be aware of this, be aware of ourselves, right? Key number 1, know our true self. Then moving on through this kind of system, this mindset, this way of life, realizing how much we truly do make a difference in every single thing that happens in this universe. And it's not an egocentric type of thing, it's a connected type of thing. And when we start to realize that our actions, our thoughts, our words can be like a domino effect and affect everything else that happens around us, whether we are aware of it or not. And it is important to be aware of it. That's a really powerful place to be. We realize how connected we are, how much greater things we're connected to, something so much greater than just us in this moment. It also helps us in really challenging times. When we're in a really challenging moment, sometimes one of the most important things to do is remember that connection, even within our own life. There's a good chance that at some point in your life before this moment, you walk through something that was very challenging. And sometimes it helps to stop and even just think about that. How did I handle that? Looking back now, did I handle it the way I would have liked to have? Did I waste too much time stressing about it, putting so much energy into it? How can I do this differently? And that's a way to kind of reflect about your own life and use these keys. So that's really the whole idea of living meditation and these 8 keys, and how the way you connect to yourself, the way you connect to others, the way you connect to the world around you truly does lay out your whole life. And you really do have the choice at the end of the day. It's a powerful thing.
It is a powerful thing. And, sometimes I think, I know I've done this myself in my life. Sometimes you just feel a little lost. You feel a little hopeless. You feel like, where do I start?
Yes.
And, with the the living meditation, with your path, where does somebody start? Right? Where is this? Where do we start when we're in that place?
Yeah, I love that question, Ken. And the truth is, and it really means a lot to me because that's my greatest wish, to share these principles and the medicine and the movement, is to really do my very best to make a change in a really practical way, right? And so the answer, where do we start? Start right now. The thing is that we can keep setting ourselves up, thinking, what's the best thing to do? Researching, educating ourselves, becoming more aware, do all of that. But remember that it literally just starts like a flip of a switch. In fact, that's key number 6 I didn't talk about. Change your reality for better. It's like a flip of a switch. It's one decision, 1 second you can decide, you know what? In this next moment, in this next 30 minutes, sometimes we set ourselves up to have too high of expectations. From now on, let's say I'm a real uptight person. From now on, I don't want to be uptight anymore. Well, good luck. Probably from a lot of your life, or at least a big portion, enough to make you think about this, you've been uptight. And you really think it's going to be that easy just to change that way? It's all about habits, right? And so in this moment, think of something, we can do this together, that you really wish you'd like to change. Maybe I don't want to have so much anxiety tied to this. Maybe I don't want to be so bossy. Maybe I don't want to be so frustrated about things, whatever that might be, right? And make a decision that in the next 30 minutes, I'm going to watch myself. I'm going to practice the 8 keys. I'm going to become part of this way of life, this living meditation. In the next 30 minutes, catch yourself. When you start to feel that coming, that's why it starts with yourself. You have to be aware. Catch yourself, right? Have your own self-guard, your own self-discipline. And when you're doing that, you have to realize, okay, it's my choice. Do I want to react based on emotion, where I am not thinking clearly? I am not rooted in my thoughts. I only am coming from my mind and my figuring and my thinking and not connecting to my heart. Or do I wish to respond, which means I see the situation at hand. I put myself quickly in someone else's shoes. As a parent, I do that with my children. Where are they coming from? Because that alone gives, especially in relationships, so much mutual respect and understanding for one another, for example, right? So when you're in that situation, you think, how am I going to respond to this? And then the most beautiful thing is, no one has to know you're doing this, right? And when you do it, nothing is more empowering. Nothing is more rewarding than when you feel in and of within yourself that you changed a habit. And the funny thing is, the first few times it's very difficult. But then, just like a habit, that's what a habit is, you start to train yourself. You train and discipline your mind that next time and the next time and the next time. And then before you know it, you're doing it and you don't even realize you're doing it. And that's the way you can start right here, right now.
Well, I've always said, if you want to start working out at the gym, just go 3 days.
Exactly, right? We're not
Right?
going to say, now I'm going to be a personal trainer. I mean, that's so disappointing, or maybe for some, maybe. But I agree. Start.
You got it. It is the start, but it's always seems like that first 3 days that's the hardest, right? You don't know, what the equipment is, where you're going to work out or not, if you go in the gym.
Right.
So it's that first 3 days of changing the habit, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
So,
right.
Man, I love this. I always love our discussions.
And I do
what we
too.
got
I
going
really do.
here. All right. So let me, the book's on the screen one more time. Go ahead and say the name one more time and where they can get it, Dr. Kim.
Okay, it is Myung-sung, The Korean Art of Living Meditation. You can find it on any bookstore, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. You can go to my website, JenelleKim.com, and it gives the links. You can find me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, all of these, Dr. Jenelle M. Kim. And before I leave, I want to take a moment, Ken, so I might be surprising you, but I want everyone to know how much you mean to me, how much of a pivotal role you had in even having this book that you just had up on the screen, having it here. And so I'm forever grateful to you, having met you and through your advice and your care and your intention, you and your wife both, and, being a connecting force into letting these words and these principles that have existed for so long come into fruition. So I want to make sure the whole world knows that. And I'm grateful to you.
Oh, thank you so much. I really, I accept that. And I thank you. Thank you for that acknowledgement. Well, all right. We're just about out of time. All right. Here's what I want to just close with this. Give me 2 benefits. When I read this book, what are the 2 main benefits I'm going to walk away with? And you got about a minute.
Okay. The 2 benefits. Life can be hard. And if not everyone else is saying that, I will stand in front of everyone and say that. Life can also be beautiful. But if life is challenging, you can adjust it. And just know that. You can change your reality for the better, right? And the second thing is, remember, this life only lasts so long. We come into this world, we accumulate different things, and that can be very important. But remember, one day we leave all these things behind and we return to wherever we feel we return. And so what are we going to do to leave something good or bad behind? That's up to us. But these things will help shape everything that we do.
I love it. I love it. Okay. Well, I hope you'll come back again and again, as we've been doing. So thank you for that wonderful talk today. I think that a lot of my audience really will benefit and will be able to step into a greater self-awareness and also learn living meditation when they buy the book. So thank you, Dr. Jenelle Kim.
Thank you so much to you, Ken, and to everybody. So happy to be here.
And all of you that are here with me today, I want to thank you for being here. I always let you know that it's important. Family is important. Our friends are important. Building our communities are important, and living the highest values those are the values of people that I bring on this show. I try to reinforce that for you time and time again, to be able to step into the brilliance, the genius that's within you, to be able to bring that into the world. And today, more than ever, as you know, your true voice is really important to come into the world, right? So there's a summit going on right now. It'll be coming up in the next couple of weeks. It's called We the People Summit. You can find the summit at wethepeople.online, wethepeople.online. I hope you'll check it out. There's some amazing authors and speakers and trainers that'll be there to help you find your true voice and also lift up the world in much greater ways than we have been. There's a donation page on there right now. All the donations go to the Ukrainian refugees. So I hope you'll check it out. From my heart to yours, I hope you continue to look and find and see the unseeable and know the unknowable and do the impossible.